How's it going, Andrew?
What's going on, homie?
Same old, same old. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah. So, dude, that park cleanup this weekend was fun. To our listeners, Lake, our lodge, an idea of mine, I probably have talked about it, is we doing an Adopt a River program. So Matt and I and a handful of other brothers went down to Bayview Park, the beach on Bayview Park. Did a cleanup. Pretty cool. Did see a very bloated dead raccoon, which was alarming. But outside of that, it's pretty straightforward. You know that we met a man there named Jerry, who's part of the Bayview Beach Restoration Society. Very passionate man. Had to talk to the river keepers. Reached out for like a post event, like survey and some stuff. Asked me how things went for pictures. And I told them, I'm like, yeah, I met this guy. His name's Jerry. He's with this Bayview Beach Restoration Society. He's very passionate about this beach. He wanted me to like relay a message to you guys. I said, full disclosure, he talked very quickly and at some level of length, and so I kind of lost the message in the shuffle, but I think the gist of it was, this beach is dirty, I need your help. Then I said, so there's the message relayed, and I think you guys might know Jerry already, and they responded, like, thank you for the pictures, all this good stuff. Yes, we know Jerry, he loves that beach a lot. And I was like, he does. But he gave me a bunch of good ideas on how we can improve our beach antics. But yeah, he was an interesting cat, and he was very passionate about that beach.
Right. Yeah, he certainly was passionate. That's a very good way to put it. Yeah, about making sure that beach is clean. A little bit at a time, maybe we can get there, but I feel like awareness is definitely crucial. There's a lot of stuff on that beach.
I mean, I think this round, like I said, I think it was more scouting than anything. Like, I didn't quite understand what we were tackling, and the equipment we got. So I told river keepers that, and they were like, oh, we can give you some other equipment that can help with that type of stuff. And I was like, perfect. So our next attempt, we're going to try to do a different tactic to try to actually make this a pretty beach, and I think it's going to be a good way to give back to our community, so I'm excited.
No, I agree. It was a ton of fun. We got a bunch of thank yous while we were out there, and, got to walk around right by the lake and pick up a bunch of garbage. So
I liked it because that's like one of my favorite. It's like a secret little beach, and like that's where I'll go. And I want to take like in the fall and stuff, a cold dip in the lake, because the water's always, so far at least, considered high cleanliness compared to some parts on Lake Michigan. So I'll go out there and take a dunk in that crystal clear water. And so I'm like, yeah, I like to clean it up and make it not have dead raccoons on it and stuff. And thousands of microplastic.
I should have ushered you down the other way. There was a dead seagull you could have discovered as well.
Why are there so many dead animals? Actually, I think I found where he got hurt, because I found a significant amount of seagull feathers in one spot. And I was like, this is a lot of seagull feathers. I think somebody got effed up over here. It's like maybe the raccoon fought him and lost, and then the seagull stumbled on off and then fell himself.
Well, I couldn't. The one thing that shocked me was the number of broken off little floss things, those like little placards where they're I was like, what purpose do these serve? Why is there so many of these on the beach? And why is it always only like half of them?
The storms. So those wash down from miles up the river flow. So all those big, heavy rainstorms we had, like those microplastics were not people throwing these on the beach. Those came down from the runoffs of the streets and stuff where the people are depositing them into the watershed. That's why I said we're like the Night's Watch. We're the last line of defense when everything's gone south. We're the last wall to clean up the stuff that made it through the rivers, the watershed, through all the rivers.
Crazy. All right. Well, I don't think our topic for today is
cleaning up
watersheds and trash cleanup and dead animals. So
yeah, it's time. It's time for talking about cleaning up dog poop. It's right. Good transition.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what it's time for. Let's go with that topic. I like that idea.
All right, let's hit it.
Loosen up your ties and roll up your sleeves. It's time for Fellowship with Matt and Andrew. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are not necessarily the views and opinions of the Grand Lodge of Wisconsin or any other Grand Lodge or any appended body.
All right. So we're back today. We're good news, guys. We're not going to talk about dog poop, even though I know it's an often fan requested episode. I think we've already
talk about
that.
gardening.
Yeah, right. So today we are going to look at. We had Lodge last Thursday, and we had a really fun education piece done by Worshipful Brother Napoleon Sneed Janzek. He's a DR in our area, as well as a past master of West Ellis Lodge. He's been on the podcast as well. If you guys look up his episode, you can look up Brother Napoleon. And he came to the lodge in a really interesting education that really had me thinking. So I reached out to him and said, hey, can I talk about your education piece on the podcast? And he said, absolutely. And the topic was leadership as refinement. And essentially, if you recall, it was him using the working tools of an Entered Apprentice as a playbook for good leadership.
Right. Yep.
So what I liked about it, I think is interesting, is the idea that when it comes to leadership, a lot of the goals should be what you remove, the bad habits of leadership that you have. So kind of like the gist of it was like, don't focus on like dominance or authority or even necessarily charisma. It's about refining yourself to get rid of like your impatience, continuous use of the gavel. So you'd think about being persistent and removing some of those challenges that stand in your way. So it's almost like he kind of explained it like when you start as a leader, you may come in as a rough ashlar of a leader, and that you have to remove things like ego and things like that to improve. Or what was the list he had? I took some notes here.
Ego, laziness,
vices, lying, or dishonesty, and a variety of others.
Follow through.
Yeah. Yep. And I thought that was kind of a crazy way to look at it, because you're always trying to think about what skills you need to acquire to become a leader, instead of thinking what issues do you have that are actually holding you back from being the best leader you can be.
Well, and this is the second time I've gotten to hear this education piece, and I've enjoyed it thoroughly both times. And I think it is a very relevant and very important education piece. And I find it interesting because it resonates very well with me, because that's kind of how I've always looked at Freemasonry and leadership within Freemasonry, is that, we're trying to, chip away at our vices and fluidities as we move through Masonry in general. And then even more so, it's even more important to look at those as a leader, because not only is it going to help you be a more successful leader, but you get looked at more as a leader, right? Like to set the right example for how things should be done. So, if you're procrastinating, or if you're not following through, or if you're quick to anger or anything like that, that doesn't set the right example to begin with. So it is very important that you start chipping away at those probably before you ever get into a leadership position, and then continue to refine them once you are in that.
Yeah, and to your point there, as Masons, we should have endeavored to start that process. It's interesting that I do think that leadership puts you under the pressure cooker, so those rough edges become more apparent, not only to you, but to others when you're stress tested too. So it's almost like, at first you're like, oh yeah, I got some vices or fluidities, but they're quieter. They're maybe less noticeable. Like maybe let's say you have some issues with, anger or being frustrated or having your temper boil over. That might happen once in a while at home on a bad week and stuff like that. But then when the brothers are really, getting you going, then you really have to find out like how to find that patience, right? And the interesting thing that sticks with me from his education piece was how he's like, how do you cultivate these skills? Try doing the opposite. He's like, radical opposites. He's like, if you have issues with, so he broke it down into like 4 common categories, right? It was ego, distraction, vice, and bad habits, and subcategorize those, right? And so if you're looking at ego and you're like, man, you really have a strong need for being right and being praised. And it goes, how do you get better at that? And he's like, practice never taking credit and only giving other people credit. It's like turn the mirror out from you, so you stop staring at yourself and you start making a practice being like, you know what, I know I really like being praised, but I'm going to praise other people more to learn to take the spotlight off me a little bit and shine it on other people's works. And like even when Worst Brother John Falk stood up in discussion to say like, yeah, I think I do everything right. And so it was hard for me to learn to just go, you know what? He might do it differently than I am, and that's fine. And I'm just going to let him do it because it's going to give him something to take ownership over, right? So it is, I mean, I think there's a lot to it.
Well, and, you know, it was really interesting that John made those comments because that's something you and I have talked about here and other places before where it's like, don't micromanage people into doing it your way, right? Give them the assignment and let them find the path to get to the goal, right? And hopefully that works out. You know, they might need some guidance on the way, but don't expect them to do it your way. They aren't you, you know. But let them find the way to accomplish the goal.
And you know what? I found one of the hardest things about that is so sometimes when I've learned to relinquish my grasp on something, right, and go, let it go, Andrew, let it go, trust him, let it go. And you release it, and they do it, and objectively, it's pretty good still, but it's not how you would do it. Now, that's the hardest breaking point I've found, because then you have to go, does everyone else like it? And the lodge is like, we love it. And in your head, you're like, I would have done it differently. Then you go, you know what? If everyone likes it, he completed the goal. I'm not going to let the way I would have done it, what do we say in the, I'm not going to let what I would like to do supplant his success. Because I want to do it how I would want to do it. And just going, you know what? He did it, and he did it in a way that everyone's satisfied and happy with. So that's a dub. That's a big dub.
Right.
Because, yeah, you can, that is ego for sure. You get attached to it. You're like, oh.
Right.
Yeah, but I would have liked
That's not the one that bothers me. The one that bothers me is when I let somebody, like, run with it, and it doesn't work. And then I'm like, maybe I should have been more involved. Maybe I should have handheld a little bit more. Maybe I, you know. Like, because then I question what I did. If they do it their way and it's super successful, great, fine, that works. I don't care. Like, I might say I wouldn't have done it that way, but you know, it worked, so I don't care.
Yeah. Well, and the challenge, and we've mentioned this before, is someone failing is a really good learning opportunity for them. So by allowing them to see it through, for better or for worse, you do allow development opportunities, even though sometimes you do have to be careful because sometimes there's failures you can allow and there's failures that are really detrimental. And as a leader, you have to step in and go, hold on, we can't, I'm not sacrificing this for your development. Like another, you're like, I think it's already done its job. Small failures are perfectly fine to delegate and allow that ownership and to say, you know, I'm going to let them try it out. And if it goes wrong, you go, well, hope you learned something, buddo. Other ones you're like, hold on, I need to micromanage you now. And maybe that's my ego coming in.
Right. Like, hold on, we need to actually resolve this. But no, I mean, to get back to like what was being discussed, it is leaders need to constantly be improving themselves as well, right? Like, I think that's something a lot of leaders will start to forget sometimes is that, you know, you got there because you've worked on yourself and because you've gotten better. Don't let your foot off the gas just because you got there. That's your ego telling you you made it. You know, you gotta rein that in, and you gotta keep learning these lessons, and you gotta keep chipping away at the rough edges and constantly, you know, making yourself better. I mean, if I'm not working on myself constantly, then I'm not going to continue to grow in the roles that I'm doing, you know, and I'm going to make mistakes along the way. Everybody is. And we have to find a way to, you know, deal with those and move forward from them, you know. But if I would have never worked on, like, procrastination was my big one that we talked about, you know, if I would have never said to myself, no, it's time to stop putting everything off to the last minute and instead be working on stuff 6 months ahead, I wouldn't be where I'm at now, you know. And that's where, you know, going back to Napoleon's, this paper and education piece about like trying to do the exact opposite is, I didn't even know that's consciously what I was doing, but I was like, hey, instead of waiting to the last minute, I'm just going to be way ahead on everything from now on.
Well, yeah. And And it's crazy because when you are pressure tested, you have to find those solutions, right? Because, it doesn't take long when you get into leadership and you're procrastinating for that procrastinator bug to start biting you in the buttocks fast. And you start going, this really sucked that I procrastinated. Like, this made me so much more stressed. And you're like,
Right.
There has to be a better way. You're like, yeah, don't procrastinate. And you're like, oh, when you plan your entire meal menu for the year, it's less stressful to do this work because you don't have to panic, figure something out suddenly, right? And then,
right. Well, and it's easier to call an audible if something changes. Like we had to this last month where everything was just like crazy. And I was like, all right, nope, we're just calling an audible.
Yep. Well, and the other ones that he mentioned in his common categories outside the ego, which we kind of talked about, was distraction, which is what we're talking about now, scattered, never finishing, procrastinating, right? Vices, meaning anger, dishonesty, laziness, or pride. I think pride also drips up into ego again. And then bad habits, so like chronic lateness, poor follow through, and being overly defensive. And I think that the bad habit of being defensiveness or overly defensive is one of the hugest detriments to good leadership. Because when you're not able to be challenged, and these are all connected, right? That all goes back to ego, right? You can't be challenged because that'll challenge that you're always right. And when someone challenges you and you don't have the ear to listen, if you can't work on saying, I'm going to be toxically a good listener, like if someone gives me feedback, I'm going to feel it bubbling up like, no, I want to explain myself. And they go, just accept it. Go, thank you for the feedback. I will consider it and allow it to ride, right? And that's a hard thing to do. I get defensive all the time. It's hard for me. It took me a long time to get better at being like, just accept the feedback, bite the bullet, and go, thank you for the feedback. Like Jeff taught me that because Jeff was good at that. He'd be like, give me the feedback, be hard. And then no one would give him hard feedback. And he's like, well, if you gave him anything, you just go, okay. And he would just write it down on a piece of paper and go, thank you for the feedback. Even though I know it's killing him on the inside, he's like, you know what? I'm going to accept it because this is the only way I learn. And that's one thing I'm really proud of Jeff about because he did teach me that.
Right. No, he did. He was very, very good at that. He really took that to heart as well. He meant it. He wanted to hear what he was doing wrong. He wanted to hear how he could be better. And I think that's a hallmark aspect of a good leader. And I hope that people would be comfortable coming to me with the same hard criticisms when I'm screwing up, because I know I screw up.
But did you notice his tactic? Because in the moment, no one likes receiving feedback that's negative.
Right.
So instead of addressing it or talking about it, because it stings, he just wrote it down and is like, okay.
Right.
I'm going to take this and I'm going to return to this later when I've calmed down because I don't like getting negative feedback. So when I'm at a centered place, I will then review the feedback and go, okay, so what's this about? And try to actually incorporate it because I thought that was what's so intelligent about it, being like, instead of having some sort of follow-up, just going, okay. Just write it down. Like, okay.
And then later on, over a glass of bourbon and self-reflection, chipping away that part of your rough ashlar.
Yep. Well, and that was the other big part about the paper is that a leader needs to take designated time to reflect on how things have been going and think to yourself like various questions like, where was I a bit rough this week? Where did things get in my way or cause things to make things worse? And in that reflection, you can't know how to apply the gavel if you don't know where to point the gavel at the edge. So you have to sit and observe your ashlar and stare at it and go, okay, this week, let's take a second. I'm just going to write down a couple of things. I think what were some of the questions? Like, what went well this week? What did I achieve? What didn't I achieve? What didn't go as planned? And stuff like that. And then observe where could I have improved and then look like and see those problems. Because once you can identify the rough edge, you can start to try to apply that reversal on it too and say, next time I'm going to try to do it this way. Because when a rough ashlar being a bad tendency, it's going to happen again. Like it's a repetitive cycle. So you have to learn to see it so you can catch yourself doing it to apply that gavel to it.
Oh, sorry, that yawn just threw me off my game. There was a thought that no longer exists.
Self-reflection, find where to apply the gavel.
Right. Well, no, you make a good point. If you're screwing something up, it will come back over and over again in that self-reflection. And, that's the stuff you got to focus on. We're all going to get dealt a hard hand. We're all going to have, we can't always, not everything that happens is always because you did something the wrong way too. Like I think that's something important to remember in this. Sometimes things just aren't going to go the way you want them to. And that it's not necessarily because you did anything wrong. You could reflect on it and realize every step of the way you did everything you possibly could to the best of your ability, and it still didn't work. And that's just the reality of it sometimes. So, as much as self-reflection and chipping away at this rough ashlar is important, I think we also have to remember to not be overly critical of ourselves.
What's the evocation or prayer they like to use in Al-Anon? You know what I'm talking about? Help me remember the things hold on.
Yeah. Lord, give me coffee to help me deal with the things I can today, and whiskey to forget about the things I can't, or whatever it is. Yeah.
God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Right.
This is kind of what you're talking about. Give me the whiskey to forget my mistakes. Because when you pass out of sleep, there are no lonely times. That's what we said. Yeah, there's another rough edge. So the other thing that he recommended in this paper, on top of using the practice of an opposite virtue like humility for ego, focus for distraction, patience for anger, was getting accountability buddies, giving a specific person permission to call you out on your rough edges. Be like, hey man, I trust you and I know you have a good place for me in your heart, so I want to give you permission right now that when I start to stray, I want you to tell me and I won't get pissed. I might just bite my lip and write it down. Write it down. Go, this piece of shit. And write it down. Go, I will reflect on this later. Thank you. And then you walk away. Like a gentleman.
I have a good number of accountability buddies.
Yeah. I know it's an accountability with the tool, but accountability buddies better. The nice thing is most good accountability buddies know how to phrase feedback better, because there's some people that you can never have as your accountability buddy, because the way they say things are so irritating that you're like, you know what? I'm closing my ears because you're not good at giving this feedback. Good ones are like, hey man, like, what you doing? You know what I mean? You're like, I know what I'm doing. And they're like, okay, I just thought you didn't notice.
Screwed it up. I know. I realized it afterwards. Thanks for bringing it up. Yeah, and the bad accountability buddy is the guy that's like, I wouldn't have screwed it up that way because
I would have done it perfect.
this, and this. Right.
Or
that's not a good accountability buddy.
Or or the nitpickers, where they nitpick too much. We're like, you know what, you're poking too much now. I can't even take this. Like, apply your accountability where it matters, right? When you're sorting an edge, I don't need all the little edges. Give me the big ones.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Last recommendation was persistence.
The perfect example for an accountability buddy is here's the way I can put it. You know how sometimes when you're doing a piece of ritual, you're doing it really well, but you miss a line and somebody prompts you anyways, even though you didn't ask for it and you were flowing and everything else, and nobody, the mistake could have been lived without, but somebody goes and prompts it anyways.
Yep.
That's the nitpicky accountability buddy. And then the good prompter, the good accountability buddy is like, you gave them that look like, I need your help here. And they're like, okay, I got you.
Oh, and the good accountability buddy knows how to shift the wheat from the shaft and say, come up and be like, it's the classic, like, let's say you nail it, right? You nail some ritual. It's really, really good. But yeah, you missed a line. And somebody comes up and be like, you missed this and this line, and walk away. And you're like, okay, thanks for the feedback. A good accountability buddy is the one that comes up like, hey, man, you nailed it. You nailed it so good, man. Did you catch a couple of things? And you're like, oh, I caught it here and here. He's like, good. And then he walks away being like, you did great, but you asked me to be your accountability buddy, so I want to help you reach perfection. So instead of just picking at you, they start with the actual goods, where you're like, dude, you nailed it. Now, if you would like some feedback,
right?
Did you notice anything in this section? You're like, oh, that one word. And you're like, yes, sir. And then you don't forget it because it locks it in for you. And you're like, awesome. Thanks, man. And you're like, cool. Great job out there. And then like pats you on the shoulder. And he's like, I love the way you did this and that. And you're like, yep. because they know that you don't, as an accountability buddy, you don't just provide negative feedback. You also encourage the positive stuff too, where you see things where they are applying it and you go, hey man, I really like how you did that. I like how you handled that situation, because you're doing both as an accountant. You are the carrot and the stick.
Right. Yes. You need to be both. I mean, I had that. I had honestly had a very unique experience just a couple of nights ago. Worshipful brother John Pettigrew conferred his first fellowcraft degree ever.
Nice. Oh, cool.
He's conferred a bunch of EAs, before and stuff, but he conferred his first fellowcraft degree, and afterwards he was like, "Did I miss a lot of stuff?" And I was like, "Do you want to know?" And he's like, "Yeah." It was like, "John, you missed like 5 words through the entire conferral. Like you missed. You like, if I added everything you missed up, it would be like a sentence."
Yeah. So if we did
Like,
the percentage, you got like a 97%. Well done, A+. Yeah.
Like, you're fine.
Yeah.
And then Brother Regan Schultz, who's been on the show
Recently,
he was doing senior deacon for the first time, and it
fun.
was a little bit different with him. Like you're talking about being people's accountability buddies. It was a little bit different in that you did that really well, especially for somebody that's never done it before. But I have a few pointers for you.
Yep. Those pointers are important because, I see too many people bemoaning people correcting them on their ritual. And I go, well, you need it. I go, that's the only reason I'm good at ritual is because people correct me. But there is a nice and a bad way to do it, right? There's an annoying way. And there's also I do think asking for permission is a good piece of advice too. Like, would you like a piece of, I really like what you did out there. Would you like some feedback? And if they're like, dude, I'm stressed out, I don't want it right now. You're like, okay, if you change your mind, let me know. Like, you don't have to shove it down their throats if they're not in the mood for it. And I think that it's the consent piece, the unconsented combative feedback that's annoying. But I think that, a good piece of advice is just ask, because I think that every time I've been asked, I'm more receptive to it when I got the choice of saying, would you like some feedback? And you're like, okay, yes, I would.
Well, and oddly enough, this was a double FC that happened the other night that I was at. And I don't know if I've ever told you this, but this was a few years ago. You taught me something very valuable when it comes to feedback on ritual and that kind of stuff from a leadership perspective. I think we were doing a double one night, and me and somebody else were kind of correcting you on a bunch of stuff that had gone wrong in the first one. And you were just like, can we just save this for afterwards? Because we got another one to do, and you guys are just, I can't deal with this right now. And I was like, oh shit. He's got a really valuable point here. We are trying to offer feedback to make him better, and I understand that. Like I understand our intentions were good, but our timing was terrible. And so I really took that to heart that time. And like this time around, I got asked, how somebody did, and I said, you did fine. We'll talk more later, or whatever. And let them get reset and do the second one.
Yeah.
Before I was like, here's what I saw,
Well, and if it's drastic enough, sometimes it can be helpful to catch it. Like if it was substantial, you're like, oh man, you're going to want to catch this before that second one. Sure.
Right.
But what's nice is if you do the consent piece and come out and be like, hey man, I know it's a big thing. Are you interested in any feedback right now? It still gives them the opportunity to be like, dude, I'm stressing out. I'm not in the headspace to take the feedback. Then you go, okay, I'm not going to stress you out more. Right. And so it allows you the opportunity. But if they're like, dude, I'm good. What I missed? And you're like, there's a whole paragraph. And you're like, oh my God, And then they're like, okay. Next time around, they catch it, right? And that makes the second degree better. So it is, I think there is a context and a timing piece for sure. But when in doubt, no one wants to get corrected mid-degree or mid-time or, when they're trying to still keep their head in the game, because it takes them off their game.
Right. No, exactly. And I think that's something very valuable to teach people, is that, there is a time and a place for that, right? And sometimes we get a little overzealous because we want to see people do better, so we're like, let's go, let's fix this. I mean, if it's something major, like you said, please, in between. Otherwise, let them go, and the corrections can all happen at the end.
Save your feedback till the end. Save your questions till the end. Right.
Right.
Yeah, there's the other thing that I really liked in this presentation is, I think the line was, you can't lead others if you can't lead yourself. And I was like, It's like, you know what I mean? You're like, and that line slaps because you're like, man, like, yeah, I mean, that is the whole like Masonic lead by example, right? They're like, dude, like, why would they respect you if you're always late? And, you know,
Right.
how can you lead if you never follow through and that you make things up to try to appease people? So you fib and you do white lies. Like, how are they going to respect you? Like if you're not
Right.
showing them that you give two shits, right? And I think a lot of the refinement process is usually removing things that are kind of not savory, where people are like, this is brutal, and you're like, yep. And if you're too aloof and you're like, yeah, I'm always 20 minutes late, Lodge, we start the meeting 15 minutes late, I don't respect your time, and you're like, okay, that it makes it hard for you to really gain any authority, over people, because they're like, I give you that authority, but you're not really respecting me and some of these things that you do. So why would I, you got to walk the walk before you can start talking the talk. You got to talk and talk, but not the walk and talk.
Right.
Whatever that line is, walk the walk, talk the talk.
Right. You gotta walk the walk before you talk the talk. Yeah.
You got to talk the walk. Yes.
Right. No, you said something in there that I kind of want to focus on just a little bit for a second, and that is, the people in the room are like, we've given you the authority, but we can take it back. And that's something any leader has to understand, is that the authority that is ascribed to the position you're in is given by the respect of the other people in the room. And if you lose that respect and what their willingness to follow, right, then your authority means nothing. Your title means nothing.
It's like your social legitimacy. If you have weak
Yes.
social legitimacy or social authority, the illusion fails, especially in a fraternal service organization that we're not paid. We have no authority. We can't hold a paycheck over your head to bully you into doing something. We're not a dictator. We can't point guns at your head to make you do something. And so you sit there and go, okay, well, let's look at this. So even in a situation where, let's say you do have dictatorial power and you're the leader of a country and you can put guns at people's head, are those people not going to disobey in smaller ways because they don't agree because you haven't built your legitimate authority? Sure, they might not publicly say anything, but are they going to be potentially slower to do the work? Maybe a little more lazy? Maybe make some
Right.
oopsie doopsies that maybe seem intentional. Like, there's ways that people who are not, they don't feel the legitimacy and stuff, they can get comfortable in the fear and say, hey, I am not going to be as engaged in this, even with threats. And, and that's the most extreme version, right? And so in the smaller one, it's just more substantial, where they're like, yeah, if I don't trust you and I don't think you respect me, I'm just not going to help you. And you're like, what? And you're like, yeah, you can just sit on your throne by yourself up there and yell into the void, all I care. And you're like, oh.
Right.
And you're like, yeah, you wear a hat that we put on your head.
Do all the work yourself, right?
Yep. You got to build that social capital. What do you think, which rough edge category, whether it be ego, distraction, vice, or bad habit, do you think shows up the most common in lodge leadership specifically?
I'm going to have to go probably with, like, would that be a bad habit or vice? Kind of consider them like the same category. So, whether it be procrastination or patience or, any of those types of things, I would say that those are probably the most common.
I think the most that I notice is a combination. I think the two big hitters are, and I think they're the big hitters because not necessarily because the others don't exist in high quantities, but because they're the most noticeable. You see them quick. The ego piece, where it's the I'm right, you're wrong, my way or highway. And the only reason I think I notice that more is because it's very showy. Because egotistical leaders showy, so it sticks out. Some of the other ones, like being late or not following through, are subtle. You don't quite notice them because they're not flashy, but certain people notice them when it affects them, right? Where if you come to a lodge meeting and the doors are locked and it's 30 minutes past the start time when you're waiting outside, you'll notice it then. But you may not notice it as easily if you didn't get caught in the cycle, right? And then I think sometimes it is the lack of follow through one that I see a lot, where people can start quick with a great idea, and I'm guilty of this too, and then pitter out, and they're like, oh, it's kind of a lot of work. And you're like, follow through, persistency, right?
Right. Finish what you started.
It's hard, dude. My one that stuck
It
out for
can be
me
at times.
as my big one is distraction. That's my rough ashlar, which, to be fair, is diagnosed as a problem, but at the same time, that doesn't mean I can just sit on my butt and not do anything about it either. But like the scatteredness, like truly before I go into lodge, and you see me, I run around like a chicken with my head cut off and I'm trying to get ready. I'm
used to it at this point because I've seen it for like 7 years.
Yeah, but I prepare a list and the order it needs to get done before I get to lodge, so that when I start getting flustered and start jumping tasks because people keep grabbing me, like if everyone left me alone, I would just walk in and hit my checklist. But it's me walking to the office. I'm like, can I speak to you for a second? Like, oh, this is going on. Can you come over here? Come over here. I need you to weigh in on this. And you're like, okay. Then you go over there and you're like, okay, what was I doing? And they're like, hey, Andrew, come over here. And you're like, oh, God. Then you go running over there. Is that when I get discombobulated because I'm being grabbed on every corner, I just look back down on my list and go, you're still on number 1. Then I get in there, do number 1, start doing number 2, get grabbed 3 or 4 more times, go, what are you doing? Number 2, shoop, and then check my list because I know I'm scattered. And if I don't have that anchor, when I'm getting interrupted constantly with things, I'm going to lose what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to forget stuff. And so to try to override that, I try to plan, like we were saying, plan that I know how I am and try to set safety nets to catch yourself on the way too.
Well, and it's funny when you look at it at the end of the day, a lot of it comes back to planning, right?
Yep.
Piss poor, or wait, what is it?
Piss poor poo poo makes a bad soup. Yeah, I know.
Good planning prevents piss poor performance or whatever. Poor planning it results in piss poor performance. However that saying goes, I can't think of it right now.
Piss.
Yeah. It's bad.
It's
plan.
bad.
Plan. It makes everything better. Just have a plan. Have a plan. Have 2 plans. Have a backup plan for the backup plan.
Have a backup plan for the backup plan. That's if the good plan goes super good, that you have a second good plan. Triple plan.
Plan.
What do you think? I know you mentioned procrastination. Did you have any other rough spots that during your first year, during your year in the East, were there any rough spots that you noticed as well that you had to learn to overcome through that process of that year between the start and the end of it?
Patience. Definitely patience. Patience in a different way than I think people would understand it. It wasn't so much patience in, other people doing things. It was being patient with myself in my responses and not just immediately feeling like I have to say something right away in response. I had to learn to be patient with my thoughts and think about what I was saying before I said it, and rather than just whatever was on the top of my mind flow out. And so that was a different version of patience that I wasn't necessarily expecting to have to learn, but I think it was valuable to have learned.
Yeah, I remember us talking about that. That is a good one. I stole that from you on some of the emails that I received sometimes where I'm like, I read it, it comes in at like 11 p.m. and I'm like, tomorrow. tomorrow, I'll write that email tomorrow. But maybe it's always a day away. Never respond. I think one of my biggest ones, outside of my general scatteredness and trying to follow through on things and trying not to lose track of things, that's been the main focus of it, is stay on top of these emails, stay on top of things that need responses, stay on top of next actions. Don't forget that degree's coming up. Don't forget right after that degree, you have another one coming up. Don't lose things in the shuffle of the other things. Right. The other big one that I didn't realize, because I'm not a very angry person, is not letting my frustration spill over into anger. Has been the other one. where I
was wondering if you've been having that at all.
Where someone tells me something and I go, ha, I'm on it. And I walk out and I go, what the fucking fuck? And then I go, okay, anyway, so how we doing? You come back at me and like, oh my God. And then sorry for the swears, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to beep it because I don't want to edit that hard today. So I'm sorry. But you all can relate that you walk out of the room like, so many times where something crazy happened and I go walking into a lodge room by myself to set up some things, take my hat, put my face in it and go, and then go, okay, and then I set it right back down and go, all right, time to go see the people again.
Right. Yeah, you need to have those moments where you step away. I mean, It is something that happens.
I didn't realize the top hat was designed for screaming into, but now I get why we wear them.
And that's that's good self-regulation though. You're at that point, and it's good to recognize that in yourself. I don't care. There's so many countless ways to be able to deal with that would be better than exploding at that person in that moment. So whether it's going and yelling in your top hat, or finding an excuse to walk away, like, oh, I really got to pee right now, so I'll be back, and just to give yourself that minute. Yeah,
rest your head on the wall.
Right? Yeah. Like, just to give yourself that minute to reset and be able to, smile at the next person, or go back to finish that conversation with that person that was starting to build, right, and resolve it well. That's a key skill to learn. It honestly is.
And even some of the times, it's not even directed at something a person did. It's like just a situation pops up that could just be them messengering it to you, and you're like, "Oh, okay, thank you for telling me that. I'm on it." And then you walk away, and you're like, "Oh my god!" And then you're like, "Okay, hold on."
Right. Worshipful Master, dinner's going to be half an hour late after 3 other people told you that there's no hand soap in the bathroom and paper towels are low, and and you're just like, oh, what else is going to happen?
You're like, Billy Bob crashed his car on the way here. You need to find a cover for him. And you're like, okay, thank you. I'm on it. Oh, yeah, the dish soap. Oh, the dish soap's low? Okay, how will we survive? Okay, anyways. Yeah, I know.
And then you go screaming to your top hat. Yes.
Yeah. Then you go, all right, we're just as happy as ever. Let's get back to it. It's another fun and exciting day in Freemasonry. Back to the game.
Another fun-filled and exciting day in Freemasonry. For sure.
God, it's so much. And after a day like today, you're like, oh boy. Alrighty.
Yeah. Well, we should probably wrap it there. It's getting late. I'm sure our fans would love to see us on Fellowship Unplugged here for a little bit.
I might have to let you go solo on that bad boy today because I got family in. So I'm gonna fast edit this one. So I'm gonna put the music in and do the quick auto edit and post it out. So you might have to hold down the fort this time.
You can at least stick your head in there for a second. Say hi.
For as long as it takes me to edit, which will be fast. So, perfect. Cool. And if you guys would ever like to see us on Fellowship Unplugged, join us for conversation. We do it on Wednesdays, usually about 9:30. Right now it's 9:50. So, sometimes we run long. Depends on how our episode goes. So, yep, you can always join us on Discord. Links in the show notes. Social media, check us out. Let people know we're out here and that we talk about stuff. And because boy, do we talk about stuff. And, yeah, you can always email us at
timeforfellowship@gmail.com.
Thank you for tuning in and have a good one.
Have a great one.